Welcome to Start Here, Go Everywhere. I am Linda Moyo, an alumna of Jobs for America's Graduates. On this podcast, we bring you incredible guests from all walks of life, offering the skills to educate, inspire, and challenge you to succeed in both school, on the job skills, and in personal life, leading to productive and rewarding careers. Hi, everybody. I have Darryl Bellamy today. He is the founder and CEO of Fearless Inside. And for some of you, this face might look familiar because he recently was at our NCDC, our National Career Development Conference in Orlando. How are you, Darryl?
I'm good. What's up, Linda? Excited to be here with you all, and shout out to all the JAG students. I miss y'all already. Excited for our time together today.
You have this company called Fearless Inside. That is a huge task to tackle down because everybody in this world, no matter who you are, whether you're Oprah Winfrey, Jeff Bezos, Linda, Darryl,
Yes.
we all have fear. So what got you into this world of Fearless Inside?
This journey, such a long journey. My journey first started, I like to say, high school, middle school. I was always huge into like reading books and like learning and growing and building myself in certain ways. So in high school, I was in organizations like DECA, FBLA, so other CTSO organizations. So all my JAG students out there, I understand you, I feel you, I know what this competition and all that life is like. I went into college, was very involved in like so many different organizations. So still into the self-development, always wanting to grow, always wanting to be better. So I got out of college, tried to start a business to help first year students on my college campus get like leadership development, food, laundry, all those things. I needed 100 parents to sign up, and only one parent signed up. So that was like a failure in a way.
Wow.
So after that, I went to corporate America for a few years. I was at Wells Fargo. I was at a retirement company. I was a consultant, but I was trying to, in some way, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur some way, knew I wanted to work for myself. So it was at that part where I did well in high school, well in college, but yet once I graduated, I still didn't know what that path was for me. And I feel like many of you all might be in that space now, but will probably be at that point at some point in your life, if not all your life. I still say to myself, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. Even though I love what I do, I'm always evolving or always growing. So not really knowing what I wanted to do, I met a life coach who kind of helped me guide me to where I am now, where I was talking to her at a Panera Bread. Shout out to all you all who love Panera or any of that type of stuff. And she said, Darryl, like, what are you interested in during our conversation? And I started naming things like real estate and speaking to students and all these interests that we have. A lot of you all listening might have so many things that you're interested in and you might not know like what that one thing is. So later on in the conversation, she was like, hey, Darryl, your face lit up when you said something about speaking to students. Tell me more. So she introduced me to something called the National Speakers Association, which is pretty much a professional organization of people who speak for a living. I got in that room. I was the maybe a few people of color in that room and also the youngest person in the room at that time. So it was in that meeting that I realized that people get a chance to speak and impact people for a living. So I decided I wanted to quit my job and speak full time within a year. So to go back to your original question, I had to give that background first. So at this point, I'm still working, you all. I'm speaking on like college campuses at first, speaking for free, like getting better, learning and growing. And this is why I want to say this. This is why in life you have to kind of start stuff to kind of learn and see how you evolve. A lot of times we're afraid to start stuff because we don't have it all figured out. But if you start, you then start to evolve and learn and grow. So I'm speaking on these campuses, and on one campus, I don't know why I decided to do this. I asked students to take out a piece of paper and write what they feared. So they take out the piece of paper. For all of you all who are in Orlando, you know, we got a chance to read some of the fears out loud. You got a chance to see some of them on the screen. Back in the day when I first started, we didn't do any of that. So I took in some of those first audiences, I took those papers home, read them, and kind of got kind of emotional reading them, realizing that with the fear of failure, fear of not being good enough, no matter what those fears came up, there were students who were in that room that I was in and probably thought that they were the only one dealing with that. And I realized at that moment that was, it was kind of like a light bulb moment to know that that was something that I should focus on and kind of build deeper into, to let students know that at the end of the day, it is okay to be scared, nervous, fearful at times. But it's not that fear that we should let stop us. We should be going and trying to have more fearless moments at the end of the day. So it all started with collecting those papers, coming home, kind of getting kind of emotional, and realizing that I didn't want students and myself at the end of the day to let fear stop us.
At the JAG event, tell me what because I know you like read these and you collect them. You have, I believe, over how many do you have by now?
I feel like 55, almost 60,000 I've collected thus far.
From the JAG students, what was the theme of what that larger group feared?
Okay, so I saw a lot when it came to overall like confidence, when it came to like
Mm,
competing. I know a lot of you all were nervous when it came to those upcoming events. I saw a lot when it came to um, not only the pressures that you have at home, but
mm,
a lot of you all are just dealing with a lot of struggles when it comes to
mhm,
just, I think, just family situations, when it comes to friend situations, trying to figure out, I guess, how to maintain those relationships, how to not leave anybody behind, and how to just manage all of those things. So those were the two things I saw was mainly confidence and a lot when it came to just managing the relationships, especially as you all grow and mature into whatever that next big stage is in your lives.
yeah. Definitely. And this month is Mental Health Awareness Month. And fear, I mean, it's one of the biggest aspects of mental health, anxiety, being scared, and
Hmm.
making the wrong decisions because it's either you're like freezing or just moving and just doing anything because you're in that fearful mindset. So, what
Yeah,
advice would you give to students, JAG students specifically, that are going through that time where it's like, yo, I don't know what I'm doing. I like
yeah,
confidence. When I go to school, I'm anxious. I don't know what to
yeah.
do with my family situation. And it's all
Yeah,
just overwhelming.
yes. Amazing question, Linda. So to all of you all all the Jack students out there listening right now, the first thing I want you to remember is that it is okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel
Mm,
fear, nervousness, anxiety at times. A lot of times we are so hard on ourselves when we feel these feelings, feeling like there's something wrong with us, that
yeah.
we're not like others. But here's the thing: we all experience these moments of fear and nervousness, and anxiety at times. Before I get on stage, I'm nervous. I woke up this morning with a headache, thinking like, "All right, I have so many things to do." Right, but I
Mhm,
always try to reset my body and say, "Hey, Darryl, like you've read thousands of fears." And to you all, and to Jack students, I told you all who were there, and I'm telling you all now, like I read thousands of these, and we all are feeling these types of feelings at times. So I think one of the first things is to remember that it is okay to feel that way and to reset.
mhm,
So one of those ways that I'm able to reset in any situation is first off, I always say, what are you doing with your breath? So we talked about box breathing. We were able to do that live. So sometimes it's breathing in for 4, holding for 4, and then letting out. I'll do that a couple of times to kind of like, I guess,
mhm.
take my heart rate down, calm myself down. We also have
Okay.
to figure out what are some ways to always get us back to that calm state. So for me, I know there's a few things that always bring me back. And I'll tell you all how to do this in a moment after I tell you all about my 3 things. One that always
Mhm.
gets me calm and brings me back to a good state is working out. So moving my body in some
Yes.
way, in a positive way. Second thing is I have friends and family that I can go to and have those conversations with. And the third thing is I will easily go to YouTube and put in the meditation app to calm myself or something. So for
Mhm.
example, if I'm feeling anxiety about um, let's just say it might be finances one day. I might be, all right, like if I'm thinking about money and thinking about how I want to structure this, or things I want to invest in, I might say, I might go to YouTube and say 5-minute meditation on financial stress. And then another day might be 5-minute strategy on making a decision. So Google and YouTube allows us to be able to find someone that can calm us down and talk us through no matter what the issue is that you're dealing with that day. So remember, y'all, there's always resources in order to push yourself through that. So the first thing I would
Yeah.
say is overall identifying what that thing is and knowing that it is okay to feel that way. Second thing is manage your body, being able to calm yourself down, figure out those ways that when you are feeling your best, anytime you're feeling your
Mhm.
absolute best, I want you to say, how did I get here? Was it, are you around a
Mm.
friend? Are you eating something? Are you at the gym? Did you read a book? Is it certain type of music that gets you hyped? Whatever those things are when you're feeling your best, remember those so you can go back to it when you're not feeling your best.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So, one thing that JAG students, the whole mission of JAG is to
Yes.
provide students with the skills and tools to be successful after
Mm,
graduation. And you talked about how after graduation, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. You tried this and that. So, what can they do in this moment? Lots of seniors are graduating. They're like, do I go to college? Do I go to a trade skill and like learn a skill? What do I do? How do you figure that out as a 18-year-old?
You do something.
Mm,
You do something.
something.
Do
Okay.
something. And here's the thing. So for some of you all listening, it's going to be college. For some of you all, it's
Yeah.
going to be a trade. For some of you, it's going to be like those are the two options that I mainly see. Like there's going to be like you're going to college, you're going to go to trade. Some of you all might take a gap. I mean, it's different for everybody, but
Hmm.
doing nothing is not an option.
Ooh.
Like you have to find, you have to be around those. You have to find yourself being around positive people. You have to find yourself around being around people who are doing something. So I would say, you all might decide, hey, I want to go to college. And as you decide to go into that next step for you, you might not know what that major is. It's okay. There's people who change majors. There's people who, switch and learn. There's people who graduate with a degree and then decide to do something totally different. But here's the thing. I went into college kind of knowing I wanted to run a business in some way, got a business degree, but then I'm still trying to find my way. I own a business now, so it was very helpful. But I have friends who maybe got a nursing degree and now they're entrepreneurs, or nursing and now it's a fireman, a firewoman, a fireman. Like, give yourself grace to know that you don't have to have it all figured out. And there's a mindset, there's things that you know right now, but there's also things that you don't even know that you don't know.
Mm.
So
Yes.
giving yourself
Yes.
grace in that process. When it comes to trade school, you might decide to go that way. You might decide to, get a job right out because you have family to support. You have people that you love that you have the support at that moment. Here's the thing, where you are in that moment, as long as you're continuing to grow, making sure that you're
Mm.
listening to the right things, making sure that you're reading, making sure that you are getting skills. Skills is what's important. Right. So is
Skills.
it I want to learn marketing? Is it I want to become a better communicator? Is it I want to have better confidence? So always think
Mm.
about not necessarily the job that you're doing, but what are the skills that you're developing? Because I can say that for
Mm.
myself, even getting out of college, sometimes doing jobs that, like, for example, my first job was at Wells Fargo as a loan processor.
Mm.
There's things that I learned there that I'm able to now institute now in my business. I was also working part time at Trader Joe's. There are systems that I learned at Trader Joe's that I can now apply to my business now, even though it's not the business that I'm in. So no matter what you decide to do, no matter what your path, don't feel bad or focus on the actual job or the school or the trade school or the some of you all might have to work fast food whatever that is. Don't focus on the
Mhm.
job. Know that you're on a journey. Focus on the skills that you're developing. Focus on the skills, and that's what's going to take you a lot further.
Wow, that is so true. So another thing that I think is important to taking anybody further in this world life is having important mentors or life coaches, just people that you can trust, that
Mhm.
believe in you, that can challenge you. So tell me like what process students can do to make sure that they have a mentor or even a life coach if they can provide the finances.
Yeah. Number one is there are mentors in every single book. You have so many opportunities. A lot of times when people think I need a mentor or a coach or a mentor coach is one more. I forgot what the word is. So when
Like
people
a
think they need a mentor,
therapist or
no therapist, you probably when we think therapist, you probably need an actual person for the most time. When you think about I need a mentor or a coach, you think I need somebody that can sit down with me and guide me through these
Yeah.
things. And those things are helpful. But now in today's age, there's so much content out there, from books to podcasts
Mhm.
to YouTube videos, that even if you don't have that direct person, you have the capabilities to still learn. And even Chat GPT, you can say, "I need help with this," and it can give you the solutions if you follow it and if you go forward. So I want you to not feel necessarily bad about yourself or where you're going because you can't find a direct person. And when we think about finding a mentor or coaching somebody directly, the question that you want to ask yourself is, number one, is what is the exact thing that I need help on? Because a
Mhm.
lot of times when you say, "I need a mentor," and you're going to somebody who's very busy, they're already busy. So they wanna know directly how you can help them and then how they can help you. So if someone came to me and said,
Mhm.
"Darryl, I need a mentor," my first question to them is like, what do you need a mentor in what? Do you want to be a speaker? Do you want to be a better marketer? Do you want to be a better communicator? So therefore, I'm able to see if I have the skills and the time to be able to directly help you. Or you might say, I need better help communicating. I might say, here are the top 5 videos you can go to, or here's the person that I know who's the best communicator coach who can help you with that. So I think it's important to be direct and try to get clear on what is it that you actually need help with and find that person to help you with. The third thing is when it comes to finding that person is you have it is such a great opportunity when you're young because so many people are willing to help for free. So I want you to take advantage of your youth, sending those emails, reaching out, never be afraid to reach out, but also ask yourself in the process, when I was looking for mentors and coaches, how can you help that person in their journey? And being very direct in the email. So being very, very clear. We don't necessarily need your whole life story. It's just, hey, here's who I am. Here's what I offer. Here's how you can directly help. And that's how I found my way of getting meetings and lunches and opportunities with people, especially since we have Zoom now. It's so much easier to jump on a call than it is to have a dinner. So like the opportunities are endless. Just make sure you're clear on what you want, clear on what you need, possibly how you can assist and how you can help that individual as well. And if you can't find that person right now, there's books, podcasts, so much information out there to be able to guide you on your way.
One thing that makes students feel shy or not connect with other people who they look up to is because they're like, oh wow, they're so successful. Like I don't even know if I can like be there. I can't even touch that. So what's your
Yeah.
advice for students? Like for you, I heard many people say, man, that Darryl guy, he was amazing. Like I wish I
But
could do what he does. What do you say to that?
I say, remember this, everybody you see is insecure about something. Everyone.
Mm,
From Beyonce to Oprah to Barack Obama. I didn't even tell my Barack Obama. I don't think I told that story. But like, no matter who you meet, like they are insecure or like they don't like something. So for me, there's times before I get on stage where I'm nervous because I've changed slides. I don't feel the best about that. Like, I'm
mm.
5'8", so I wish I could be taller. There's little things that like we all have that we might like that we're in our head about. So because I read, again, I want to go back to these fears, because I read so many of these fears, I'm in everyone's mind. And I hear Michelle Obama, she did an interview with Oprah where she was talking about her insecurities. So I just go into every situation knowing that everyone's flawed in some way. So I don't really judge. When I do judge myself, I'm able to easily correct it and realize that we're
Mm,
all in the same boat. And that when you have deep conversation with some of these high level people, you'll sometimes like, there's people who I know who have thousands of followers, sometimes a million followers, or they have a whole bunch of money. And you can look at their Instagram and you're scrolling, you're like, they have it all together. And you're scrolling. And
yeah.
then you have lunch with them or dinner with them and you get close and they start telling you their issues and you're like, oh, or their challenges. You're like, oh, like they're just like me. So I don't care who
Mm.
they are. I don't care what level. If you get deep down enough, everyone has challenges. So that makes you know that you can connect with anyone, and that you're not alone. You got this.
Yeah. So tell me about this Barack Obama story. Now I'm intrigued.
I can't tell it. I can't tell on here. I usually tell it in the
Okay.
audience. No, it's,
Okay, that's
um,
okay.
but yeah, so I usually tell it either one on one or so I'll tell you afterwards. So at some point,
Okay.
maybe students here as we get connected, but just realize that everyone is struggling in some type of way,
Mhm.
and everyone's trying to figure out what that next level looks like for them. Even someone like Barack Obama or Oprah or all of us, like we all have our moments. Yeah.
Yeah. And back to this mental health topic, you are a person of color. And in the world that we live in, especially as a Black man, that can be so challenging in personal life, in career life, in that professional development world. How do you handle that, especially being in front of the stage, literally, with the work that you do and all eyes being on you?
I was blessed and lucky in a way. I didn't realize until I gotten older that
Mhm.
growing up, my dad used to always say, he used to say, um, you know who one of the luckiest people in the world is? And I would say, what? He would say, black men. And
Mm.
and then I would say, and he would say, and you know who have it even better? I would say, what? And he would say, black women. He would say, and I always wonder why. He would tell me, but
Yeah.
he would say, because as a minority, he says there are people in different organizations and companies who are looking to place people like you in spots. They're looking.
Mhm.
They're looking for spots for people like you. You just have to be qualified and you have to be ready when the opportunity comes. So all throughout my life, I never really looked at things or situations as
Mhm.
though, Darryl, you're the only one. People are trying to deny you things. I've always looked at it as I'm that person that you can choose for that spot. That if you only got one because of what you believe and who you got one spot, like I'm the guy for it. So that's how I kind of looked at. That's always the mindset that I went into things. Um, I I think as I've gotten older over the past, we go through the George Floyd things and all of the things that we've been through over the past 4 years, where I think my eyes have kind of come open to just sometimes how the world is and how I
Mhm.
can be viewed. And it's I think there's a struggle sometimes where I might send out an email or something and people might ask a certain question. I'll be like, if I wasn't a
Yeah.
if I wasn't a male of color, would they be asking these deep questions? Um,
Mm.
would they be evaluating me as much as they would someone who's not of color? So I think I was blessed to be dealt early in my life with the mindset that that there's a spot for me and to not look out for those things.
Mhm.
As I've gotten older,
Yeah.
I've been able to evolve and just know that for me, I can only do my very, very best, put my best foot forward. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say the wrong things, and I'm okay with that. But my goal at the end of the day is to make sure that I am able to open doors for other people who look like me, and for other people who come behind me. And also knowing that if I make a mistake and if I mess up,
Mhm.
that that's okay too. Like there's gonna be people who come behind me who are able to open up any doors that I'm not able to open up as well. So I hope that answered your question, whatever way that
It
was.
did. No, it definitely did. What makes you scared or fearful right now at this stage in your life?
What makes me scared and fearful? My number one fear is the one thing I'm worried about the most is all my life I've always known exactly what I wanted to do. It's like I want
Mm.
to be an entrepreneur. All right.
Yeah.
Then I was like, okay, I was kind of okay, sort of. So I knew I knew I wanted to run my own business or get into business at some point. I was struggling to find that. Okay, I want to be a speaker. All right. After you want to speak and motivate, you want to speak at most of the college campuses. You want to speak at some high
Mhm.
schools. You want to do that. So I've been able to hit a lot of those goals. And now I'm in the spot now in my life where I'm like, Darryl, what's next? What is that next big goal? What do you want to do? Do you want to start an education company? Do you want to add in adults? Do you want to do more stuff on YouTube? Do you want to? And now I'm stuck trying to figure out like what that next thing is for me.
Mm.
And it's like difficult. It's a very difficult time in my life because I'm trying to figure out like what that looks like. And I start things and I stop and I stop and I start. And I don't feel like I have a very, very clear direction on what that looks like. So
Mhm.
I think that's my one of my worries and fears is that I won't ever figure that thing out. Even no,
Yeah.
that's not. I do believe I'll figure it out at some point, but I feel like I'll figure it out and I'll figure it out too late. You know,
Ah, yeah.
and they'll leave me
Like you
behind because
might
I do.
miss that window of opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's honestly a fight against it because it's like two things on each, or one thing on each shoulder, where I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
I missed an opportunity, but then I know on this shoulder that everything happens for a reason. I know on this shoulder
Mm.
that like anything that's for me is for me, but it's still a constant fight,
Oh,
with
yeah.
like the negative voice and the positive voice going back and forth, and
Mhm.
always trying to make sure that that positive voice is over, that it's constantly fighting. Well, we all feel it before we're about to speak, before we're about to do something, before we're about to have that conversation, before we're about to stand up for ourselves, where those voices are fighting back and forth. The goal is to make sure that that positive voice is winning out most of the time. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that keeps me up, and keeps me worried is that I'll figure it out too late because I do want to make a big impact, y'all. I do want to make
Yeah.
a lot of money to be able to support my family. Like I do want to retire early. I do want to leave a leg. All these things I really want to do,
Mhm.
and trying to find that path.
Yeah. Can I ask you something? So, one thing that I've been doing lately in my life as
Uh
I'm
huh.
trying to figure out these big decisions too, because I'm 22, so I'm still very young and figuring it
Yeah.
out. I always look to the 10-year-old Linda. Be like, what did she want before the world could like fill her mind with all these things? But then I'm like, what is the 40-year-old Linda doing? Because I know
Yeah.
that girl, she is killing it in life. And then,
Yeah.
okay, the 22-year-old, what does she know? What are her fears? What's making her freeze and not make that, first step towards something? So for you, Darryl, what is that 50-year-old Darryl telling you about your current fears and situations right
I'm trying to, if people are watching this, I was literally writing something the other day. It's not here. It's probably another piece of paper where that's what I'm doing now. I'm planning out like 10 years ahead of time. So I'm thinking, I'm 32 now. So in 10 years, I'm 42. And I'm thinking and progressing and thinking at 42, what do you want to be doing? What are you doing now that you won't be doing in the future? Um, because what we do and what we sometimes, what kind of hurts us at times is we kind of think short-sighted. So
Yeah.
I think most of you all haven't realized how fast a year can go and how fast 5 years can go. And if you are doing little actions on a daily basis, as those years go on, you're able to go faster. So for example, I'm thinking about like getting back into YouTube. And this guy is saying, like, hey, if you make one video a week for 2 years, I think you're going to be amazed in 2 years, like what you
Oh,
turn
wow.
out
Yeah.
and what you're able to become. So for me, I'm thinking, I want the subscribers now. Like I want the sponsorships now. So for me to think, you know, 3 years or 5 years into the future is sometimes hard because it's like one video every week for 3, 4 years. But if you're able to like put that time and that compounding interest into whatever that thing is that you want to do, even slowly, you think about going working out, doing small weight, and then building up. I think we'll
Mhm.
like myself and you as well will be amazed at how far you're able to come. So I talk to that person all the time, and I'm kind of in the middle of that journey now. Think talking to that for me is that 43-year-old self because it's 10 years I can kind of manage that and thinking
Yeah.
not that and thinking, Darryl, what is it that you want to do for those next 10 years? I don't want you to, I want you to think small steps and not big steps at the end of the day. I don't know if that answers your question, but I do think about that often. And I'm in the process of trying to figure out what that is.
Yeah. So Daryl, I think that your life story is so inspiring. It's so relatable to
Thank you.
everybody's story. And I hope that everybody listening today can take this in. And I want to acknowledge that you took those steps. Like you're doing it still.
Yeah.
And you just talked about how if you continue to do that in 10 years, you're going to just take a look and say, whoa, I'm here. And these are the steps over those 10 years that I took to make sure, to ensure that I got here. So I just want to acknowledge and praise you for that. And I have one more question for you.
Yes.
So you are always in front of the stage speaking. If it was your last talk that you could ever give, let's say you have all the knowledge, you've collected millions and millions of note cards with fears, and you've done it all, and you had 30 seconds to a minute to give that one final talk, to get in front of that audience and give them all that you've received and all that you want to inspire and ignite within them. What would that 1 minute or 30 seconds to 1 minute talk look like?
It would, that 30 seconds to 1 minute talk would be me sharing. Let me go back and just share one of my favorite quotes. One of my favorite quotes is a quote by Steve Jobs, where he
Okay.
says that in life, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can
Forward. Yeah.
only connect the dots looking backwards. So you have
Backwards.
to
Yeah.
trust that the dots will somehow connect. And that is an amazing quote that I use on a daily basis to remind myself and for you to remind you, everyone listening, that there are things happening in your life right now. There are struggles, there are challenges where you are thinking in the moment, why is this happening? Or will this make sense? And how will this connect to the future? And so my speech, my 30s, my 1 minute would be quickly showing the times in my life where I was in that moment and I felt it didn't make sense. I don't know why I'm meeting this person. Why
Yeah.
am I going through this? And being able to connect that forward, because at this point it's the end of my life, right? Being able to connect that forward and saying, you see how I was struggling here in high school and I wasn't getting along with my parents, or I didn't know what that life would look like. That person that I met on this day that I didn't understand, I was able to connect with them 10 years later, and that connected to this and it connected to that person, and how everything you're doing now will make sense at some point. That right now you just need to worry about creating the web. Remember Charlotte's Web? You worry about creating those webs. You worry about just
Mhm.
doing the right work, and I promise you, because I've noticed in this part of my life right now that the dots will connect. and just give yourself
Mm.
grace in your journey, knowing that you are on a journey. You're comparing yourself to other people all the time. I know, but remember, as we said in the talk, for those of you all who are there, is that yes, we're all running on the on the one track together, but you're all in your
Mm.
individual lane. And sometimes if you compare yourself to somebody else in their lane, you don't realize what they're going through. You don't realize what their process is, but you never know when you might pass them. You never know like what your process is compared to theirs, what they're going through. Stay in your lane, and I promise you, over time, you'll grow and you'll be amazed at what you're able to accomplish and what you're able to do.
Wow. Daryl, thank you so much for today.
You're welcome. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Thank you all to who DM'd and sent messages since Jag. Feel free to also, it's at Fearless, no, at Darryl Bellamy Jr. I want to hear your fearless stories. I want to know how I can support you in some way. Oh, also shout out Linda. There was one student, I forgot the name, who showed, I think, the video in class or to their club, and I was able to send them some fearless bands.
Wow.
So they actually watched the video, actually did the fear exercise, and actually got some fearless bands. So shout out to everybody who's taking the message forward and making sure that those friends and family, those people in your community are having fearless moments as well. It's really about you and what you're able to do going forward.
Well, that's cool. Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest things, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at JAG Students. Thanks again, and see you next time.